We're going to begin our Conservation Commission meeting of August 11th, 2021. Pursuant to the Westford Board of Health's vote on 8/9/21, all board members, town staff, and attendees are required to wear a mask at all public meetings inside town buildings. So hence why we're wearing a mask tonight and why you're masked as well. When we take votes, we're going to take a hand vote so you can see how we're voting. So if you can't hear us, you'll have the visual. Tonight in attendance, we have Jim Gazzo, Noel Donovan, Ann Jeffries, Margaret Wheeler, Eric Foley. With that, I'd like to move on to our 7:30 p.m. agenda item, which is an open forum. Any members of the commission? Jim?
Same topic I've raised the last few meetings. Sycamore Road, there's a small piece of conservation land there. Is there any action?
Trees?
Yes. 3 trees, 3 large oak trees were cut down, and I really would like to have 3 replacement trees or bushes put in place on that property with appropriate protection with boulders or whatever is needed. And I'd like to have that added to the discussion and action items agenda
For the next meeting.
as a permanent action until we get it done.
Yes.
Anything else, Jim?
No, sir.
Anything else from any of the commission members? Any from the audience? Bill?
Thank you. I'm Bill Harmon. I live on Old Colony Drive. And the reason I just wanted to speak briefly is to say that it was my suggestion at your previous meeting to have an agenda item on the Callista Terrace project. So thank you. That's very good. I'm glad to see that. Also, at that last meeting, it was said that there would be an informal gathering out on site, and that was a very good idea. However, unfortunately, it had a problem the way it actually materialized. To have the presence of the nearest neighbor, which is important, that neighbor insisted that I couldn't be present also. And so that really wasn't a good practice for conflict resolution, and that's not the way we do things in Westford. So I volunteered to stay away, and I'm anxious then to make my report to you, which was my original point when I brought it up before, to make my report to you tonight of what I know about that area. In fact, one other request is I'd like to, if it's possible, to make my report before we have the report from that unfortunate meeting on site. Thank you.
Why was it, again, I was at that site visit yesterday. I didn't think there was anything inappropriate about that site visit. In fact, I thought the discussion was a good discussion, and at least we had a pathway forward for the moment. May not be everything that everybody intended or would like, but in trying to come to resolution, we're seeking a compromise and trying to do the right thing. So, when we have that discussion in regards to that recording of that site visit, be free to bring up your comments at that time.
Okay.
But how about if we leave it at that?
Fine.
Thank you, Bill.
Thank you.
I have a couple.
Sure, man.
Just as a kind of housekeeping, the applicant for the public hearing at 8:20, the Town of Westford Facilities Department for the project at 33 Robinson Road, the Robinson School Tennis Courts, has requested a continuance without discussion to the September 22nd meeting. So if anybody is here in attendance for that, I don't want people sticking around for till the end of the meeting.
For us to tell you it was continued.
Yeah, exactly. And that's, I think,
That's
all I
that?
have. Yep.
Okay. Anybody else from the audience before I begin? Seeing none, can I move on to the 7:35 p.m. agenda item, which is a public hearing for Smider at 13 through 15 Texas Road. And now you'll read the public meeting notice.
Under Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act, the Westford's non-zoning bylaws, Chapter 171, the Westford Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on Wednesday, August 11th, 2021 at 7:35 p.m. in Meeting Room 201 at Town Hall, 55 Main Street, on the request for determination of applicability application of Scott Smider for after-the-fact removal of 4 pine trees and proposed landscaping on existing landscaped area within 100 feet of a jurisdictional wetland at 13 and 15 Texas Road.
Great. So, state your name for the record.
Scott Snyder, owner of
Okay.
13 Texas Road.
And so you removed some trees?
Yes, sir.
And now you want to do some additional landscaping?
Correct.
I should say, I'm Alexis Griffin. I own 15 Texas Road.
Okay. So Matt, they moved some trees.
They removed some trees, and that's what originally brought myself out there, as there some were within 100 feet of the wetland to the rear of the property. Upon meeting the property owners, and expressing their desire to do some additional landscaping or plantings for on the property within the buffer zone, I found it best to wait wait until the plan was actually developed. The commission could review not only for the after-the-fact approval for the removal of the trees, but also for the proposed landscaping throughout the property, including within the 100-foot jurisdiction.
So the 4 trees that came down outside of the 50?
Yes, I pulled tape on them this afternoon. The nearest one, I think, was 61 feet from the edge
Could
of
you
the
point out on
wetland.
one of the plans roughly where that is? Because I couldn't
sure.
find that. The one with the,
Yeah.
that one would be fine?
Yeah, so it's about the, kind of where the is on the left-hand side of the plan. That's about in proximity to where the lowest,
Okay, thank
where
you.
the closest tree was.
So we have the 4 trees removed, so, okay. And now we're looking at this planting plan here. I know one of the things that we always bring up, we like to have shrubs and plantings that are sort of indigenous. I mean, are any of these invasives, ones that we wouldn't want here?
I hadn't had a chance to look through all of them and check, but nothing was jumping out at me at the time, upon going through them.
Yeah,
Eric?
Jim?
Are these trees, are the replacement trees this on the order of 300 plants, 25 trees, shrubs, varieties? Are these permanent implants, or are they to be harvested later, or
No harvesting,
permanent?
permanent.
Okay, thank you.
Lots of, trying to put in lots of pollinators, really, a lot of color into the area with it, so really don't want to remove them once they're in there.
Like that. I mean, I'm thinking a lot of these aren't indigenous to Westford, things that we wouldn't find in town.
Some, I'm sure, are not indigenous, but depending on what you look at as far as the definition of invasive, the question you asked earlier, I don't see any of them as being things that are going to spread around. There's certainly things I've seen around town. So in designing this, you'll notice name similarity by the by on this. So designing this with my mother, we really tried to look around at what was already around town in different places. I couldn't comment, though, on what's native to Westford. I don't have that much experience.
I mean, there's Japanese maple and Norway spruce. I don't think those are native plants, but there's a lot of them here. There's several Japanese plant varieties.
But not something that's going to be likely to spread as far as a definition of invasive.
No, and I get that. Thinking, are these trees going to provide habitat? You know, if they're good pollinators, they might. But I don't know. I don't know enough about them.
So what was the source of information about, to tell you which ones would be good pollinators, et cetera? Was there a reference that you used to select plants for the trees and shrubs?
Other than my mother, who's been doing this for 50 years, no. I'll be very honest. My mother's a professional landscape designer and architect. And so that was one of the things I had expressed to her, was a desire for a heavy amount of pollinators in the area.
Okay.
So I'm sorry, that's not a very good answer, but it is the truth.
Matt, a question, so looking at the plan, there's a wetlands delineation that references a determination back in 98 or 99. Did you happen to look at the wetlands line and make sure that it's kind of
Where it was.
where it was?
Yeah, it's still consistent. I mean,
It hasn't crept up or crept back?
no, it seems to be kind of that same vicinity, off the back of the house. It was, you know, there didn't look to be any disturbance, any encroachments going one way or the other. I did notice, I think, a little spit of knotweed growing just kind of at the edge of it, that, on my site visit, but again, you know, if that's,
No, it was more in terms of sometimes we see wetlands move one way or the other, and it's, you know, if you're trying to be sensitive to it, it's good to know that it's where you think it is.
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it's very well established, and
Okay.
it didn't seem to be.
And also with the existing tree line, did you get a sense for how far that was from the edge of the wetlands, since there's no plan
That shows the
showing
work,
everything?
yeah.
I mean, it was probably 20 feet, 15, 20 feet from the edge of the wetland through kind of a buffer, to the existing lawn, on the property.
Okay.
So if the wetland is beyond this area, what do you think the distance is again?
I think
from-
15, 20 feet.
Is it currently lawned right now there?
Where I intend to plant would be lawned.
Right. So I mean, up to the tree line is lawn, and then there's 15 feet of native vegetation, a little bit of invasive knotweed as mentioned. And then the wetland looks very healthy back there. I mean, we've had a good,
No, I'm sure it does. I wish I knew more about the plantings, just to know it.
so would a condition of approval be upon, you know, want me to go look and see kind of go through the list, find which ones are native, which ones, you know,
Yeah, I don't really have any
not
other issue there.
invasive,
Yes.
you know, maybe more, and just kind of pare down the list from, you know, here's the 28, go, okay, you know, these handful, you know, aren't native and, you know, or aren't native or aren't indigenous to the areas, and kind of work backwards.
One other question, with all these plantings, was there going to be any plan to install irrigation?
There's already existing irrigation that's
Okay.
in the lawn, yes.
Okay. Also, this references 13 Texas Road, but I see the filing is for 15. Is part of this, is this
Part of the-
plans
Part
right
of the
across the
tree
property?
removal.
Part of the trees were on my property.
The trees that came down or the trees that are getting planted?
Both.
Both, okay.
Yeah.
So the kind of plan left is the property boundary between 13 and 15.
Okay.
And that's where the pine trees that were removed were taken down from, you know, again, probably straddling the property line.
Okay.
Yeah, as far as the plantings that are further away from the wetland, you know, I'm not so concerned about that as keeping it more indigenous as we get closer to the wetland.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, I agree with that.
Other than that, you know, I don't have any problem with this, so maybe, you know, we keep this open, unless you want to, trying to think how we would do a conditional negative and do it now, and close it, without you having a chance to look at it. So I'm thinking we would need to keep it open,
Yeah.
for you to look at this, and then we could issue a conditional negative determination at our next meeting,
Yep, and we can.
which is a good thing. I just want to have him take a look at the plans, that's all. Can anybody else have any comments? Do you think that's the right approach?
I love that you're getting rid of grass and planting
Yeah.
pollinators.
That's one thing I
Love
wanted
that.
to
Thank
make
you.
sure you caught with this, was that it's actually getting rid of grass.
Right.
So it's not
We
encroaching
just want
on
to
the
make sure that
trees.
it's closest to the wetland is native species, I
I
think.
mean, there's,
Other than that, I'm thinking this is fine.
I mean, a couple points, if you're looking at the plan that's on the
I get you, Emily. So with that said, Emily, you had a question?
Hello, Emily Teller, 9 Texas Road. I didn't get a copy of Scott's plan and the filing, but he was nice enough to come down and talk to me about the plan, and we walked around his yard a little bit. I guess I'm here also to advocate for native and indigenous plants. I tried to get in touch with the Native Plant Trust today and asked them about these plants. I have it now, thank you. And asked them about these plants, but nobody got back to me. They're mostly working from home. And I just think that would be a good idea to have somebody who is an expert. I'm kind of surprised that your expertise doesn't include that, because people are doing stuff all the time, all over Westford.
Carol
But-
was an expert in it.
Okay, well,
And that was, she'd always mentioned substitutes for, various plants, or have you looked at this, have you looked at that? So, in her absence, we're lacking in that expertise.
okay, well, I tried to get some expertise, and if I hear from them, I'll pass that on to Matt and to Scott and to you guys. In their interim, I just did copy something from their website, and I'm sorry I didn't cite this on here, but it's from the National Plant Trust, which is Garden in the Woods in Framingham. And I just thought I'd pass these around to you guys, their statement about habitat and stuff. So I think looking at this again, I was concerned a little bit about lilies, because the only bugs I ever see on my lilies are Japanese beetles. But, I think having somebody with some expertise take a look at that would be a good thing.
So you're okay with our approach?
Yeah, totally. And we share the same wetlands. I mean, it goes from Lex's house to Scott's to our neighbors to us, and it's a very extensive wetlands back there.
I'd like to propose an alternative.
Sure.
Just simply not do the plantings that are in the back that are potentially concerning closer to the wetlands, such as the lilies that are running along the back, and just close it out. I was trying to add things that would be pollinators and other additional plantings, thinking that that would be better for the environment, but if there's a concern, there's no issue with removing those from the plan, if that's what seems to be the better answer.
Do you want to do all native species, is what you're saying?
I'm
Well,
just
let him,
saying I would-
if he
I would
wants to
change
revise
that.
it, he can revise it. We're gonna need to see that before I can close the public hearing.
Well, I would just say anything beyond that line that encroaches on that 100-foot mark, I just wouldn't touch it. And just put it to bed. That way it doesn't have to go back up through.
So you're saying with anything that's within the 100-foot buffer, you're not gonna be doing any additional plantings?
We could just leave it as is, yeah.
That means
That's where the concern is.
the red line across the design? Nothing behind that? You don't want to do
Everything-
that. You want to plant something back there.
It's okay to leave it as is.
Or
It's not a
will-
problem.
What about replacing the trees that were cut?
Well, he's got plenty of other
There's
plantings.
150
Those other ones, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but those were in the buffer.
Right.
Yeah, but 65 feet, so,
Yeah.
he wasn't within the 50 there. I would not have a problem with that if you weren't doing any plantings within the 100, then he's leaving all the, this wouldn't be within our jurisdiction. Then he's only worried about the 4 trees and no issue there.
Is the red line 100 feet or 60 feet?
That's the approximate
Yeah,
100
that's the
foot.
approximate from the 100.
Oh, so that's the 100-foot line. Okay. I mean,
What do you think about that, guys? Then he's not, his plantings would be outside the 100 and they wouldn't be within our jurisdiction.
Wait a minute, you're saying the red line is what distance from the wetlands?
100.
100.
The 100-foot line goes right through the house, according to...
Right, and so does this.
So, oh,
Yes, it
this
goes
is
to
the
the
house here?
house,
Okay.
Yeah,
All right. It was hard to say.
that's the 100-foot.
I would prefer to see less grass and more native species, to be honest with you.
I think he wants to get his negative determination tonight, don't you?
I'm looking to try to close this out and to
Yeah.
make things right.
So-
A mistake was made, but I do want to close it out. I thought that the better way would be to add more plantings, but hearing the concern, I certainly understand it. And if that's not the best answer, then let's remove that from the equation, is my suggestion. And then we can just close this entirely.
So we basically give him the after the fact permission to remove the 4 trees. And basically, that's the only thing he's before us because this planting plan is outside of our jurisdiction. So,
we would just need to, the planting plan would have to happen to make up for the trees that were removed.
well, no, actually, he's got so many trees. He's doing some other plantings, but I'm thinking he had the 4 that came down. The closest one was within 5 feet of the wetlands. According to Matt, he's got plenty of other trees out there, so we probably wouldn't make him replant.
Okay.
And he's doing all this other planting anyway outside.
Mm-hmm.
Is that right? Yeah. Okay. Just wanted to make sure I wasn't putting words in your mouth.
Nope.
So if that's the case, and the planting plan is not within our jurisdiction, and it's only for the 4 trees, and we've given them the permission to remove those 4 trees after the fact, can I have a motion for a conditional negative determination?
So moved.
Second.
Any other discussion? All those in favor? Jim?
Aye.
Noel?
Aye.
Ann?
Aye.
Margaret?
Aye.
I'm in favor. So that's good, a conditional negative determination. Motion to close the public hearing?
Second.
Jim? Okay, so I have a motion, I ask like,
Yes.
so
close.
Jim?
Close.
Noel?
Second.
Ann?
Yes.
Margaret?
Yes.
Okay, unanimous. You're all set.
All right,
All
thank you
right.
for the help.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
Thank you for your compromise.
I'm sorry.
Thank you for your compromise.
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
you make mistakes and try to make it right, and
No, but hey, we're
Went the
able
wrong
to
direction, but trying to
accommodate
make it
you and
right.
give you what you want. So,
Thank you.
thank you.
Okay, we're going to move on to our 7:40 PM agenda item, which is a public hearing for our green at 14 Banbury Drive.
Under Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act, the Westford's non-zoning wetlands bylaw, Chapter 171, the Westford Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on Wednesday, August 11th, 2021, at 7:40 PM in Meeting Room 201 at Town Hall, 55 Main Street, on the request for determination of applicability application of Patricia Roggeveen for the construction of a 5-foot-high fence enclosing approximately 2,300 square feet and removal of dead trees and invasive saplings within 100 feet of a jurisdictional wetland at 14 Banbury Drive.
Good evening.
Hi,
And state your name for the record.
Patricia Roggeveen.
Okay, and just, again, tell us what you'd like to do.
Well, the first is the fence. I have 2 dogs, and in looking at the property, I thought that that was the least onerous place to put the fence, given it's basically on lawn at the side, off the porch, so it's already been more or less, developed. And it's a small section of the property, not the entire property. And again, I went with the 5-foot because I didn't want it to be so, forbidding, I suppose, but enough to keep the dogs encaged. The other is, I just purchased the house in June, and there's been a lot of neglect, I would say. I get pretty familiar. I lived on Nantucket for 22 years and have done a lot of work with wetlands, and there's a lot of need in the back. And the first thing I'd like to do is, there's a dead tree right where the fence should be that needs to come down. And then there's some things in the front, like yews and other kinds of trees like that. But there's a tree in the back. It's a pine tree that was planted with some of the others that are around the property, and it's just completely engulfed in bittersweet. That's now moving into the maples that are also on wetland. And I just really want to get that out of there before it continues, to make it its presence known. It's very overgrown with saplings and other kinds of other kinds of trees. I haven't done yet. I'm going to get someone to do a consult on the invasives and take a look at some of, removing some of that as well. But the back and the end of the property is lawn up to, in fact, where the tree is that's covered in the bittersweet is also on the lawn. So the wetland vegetation starts after that, more or less. So, but at any rate, my hope is to improve it. I'd also like to eventually remove a lot of the grass on the side of the house and do some wildflowers and things of that sort. But right now, this is the first step in the right direction, I hope.
Commissioner, have any thoughts? Jim?
Yeah, had a hard time with some of the distances on here, because the scale is screwed up because it's a photocopy, but using the property line, this is 200 feet. I would think from the wetlands to where the fence is planned is about 75 feet, is that?
I measured it I think the wetland here has come closer since the plan was, because I was out there this afternoon and measured it. It's 40 feet from the shed as
Back
currently,
into the fence?
yeah, the back of the fence, the back of the shed there is 40 feet.
It's a lot
And so
closer.
I mean, it is disturbed lawn area currently.
Okay, and the area that the applicant was talking about, invasives and some dead
Yep,
trees?
I definitely, and that's kind of by the well on plan left.
Oh, way back there.
Yeah. And so it's at the top of the slope that goes down to the wetlands. And there's I also noticed some knotweed back there as well. So there are, in addition to the bittersweet that was engulfing that pine tree, I did notice that, and it certainly was present.
Anything else, Jim?
No.
Anyone else from the commission have anything to say in regards to this request for determination? Your thoughts? You've been there.
Yep, no, I mean, I think, the garage, no, the fenced-in area, it's minimal enough so it's to not preclude habitat, wildlife from, continuing around either side of the property, so it's not completely enclosing and creating a barrier.
There's shadow box too, right? So small critters, chipmunks, squirrels can get in between, right?
No, the problem with the shadow box is that, like a lot of things right now, the regular fence is in the warehouse. The shadow box would take weeks and months to get.
Oh, I
so-
thought that's what it was
Yeah,
proposed.
I think you were proposing the shadow box.
Yeah, I'd like to do the
a couple
shadow
weeks
box.
ago, and-
Yeah, but
so-
it's not going to work in terms of order and the like, so. But the 5 foot I can keep with, so that I'm pleased with, so.
So Jim, you good with this?
I thought it was gonna be the shadow box, which was gonna be better, but I think it'd be okay. I do.
So is there going, so where the fence meets the ground, is there room for the critters underneath, or are you concerned about dogs tunneling?
No, I have 2 very large dogs, so.
Okay,
Yeah.
so there'd be room, so for example, squirrels or whatever, they
Right.
can get in and get out?
Yeah, they're both over 100 pounds, so I don't think they'll be.
There you go, you were up with
Here are the squirrels.
talking large dog. I don't have any problem with this.
No, I love that you're wanting to take care of
Any
the
questions
wetlands.
from the audience in regard to this request for determination? Seeing none, can I have a motion for issuing a conditional negative determination?
So moved.
Second?
Any other comments or discussion from the commission? Seeing none, all's with in favor, Jim?
Yes.
Noel?
Yes.
Ann?
Yes.
Margaret?
Yes.
I'm in favor. Great. Going to issue a conditional negative determination on your request.
Thank you very much.
Anything else before I close the public hearing?
Nope, that's all.
Motion to close the public hearing, Jim?
So moved, close the public hearing.
Second?
All is in favor, Jim?
Yes.
Noel?
Yes.
Ann?
Yes.
Margaret?
Yes.
I'm in.
Thank you very much.
Motion- Thank you very much. Public hearing is
Good night.
closed.
Good night.
Good night. Okay, we're going to move on to our 7:45 PM agenda item, which is a public hearing, Ben Mamola at 5 Mark Vincent Drive.
Under Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act, the Westford's non-zoning wetlands bylaw, Chapter 171, The Westford Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on Wednesday, August 11th, 2021, at 7:45 PM in Meeting Room 201 at Town Hall, 55 Main Street, on the request for determination for applicability application of Mark and Katie Mamola for the abandonment of the existing failed septic tank and leaching area septic tank within 100 feet wetland at 5 Mark Vincent Drive.
Good evening.
Good evening. I'm Kevin Ritchie from Civil Solutions. I am here on behalf of Mark and Katie Mamola, the owners of 5 Mark Vincent. They are currently in the process of moving. They've had a Title V inspection done on the property, and the septic system failed the inspection. It's got a wetland to the rear of the property. The septic system is currently located in the front yard. It's currently the leaching area is roughly 75 feet off the wetland. The proposed leaching area is completely outside the 100-foot buffer zone. There's an existing septic tank which is roughly 55 feet off the wetland. We're proposing to push that out to 75 feet.
Basically maximum feasible compliance.
Yeah, that was probably fully compliant.
Yeah. Well, as compliant as you can be.
Yes.
Typically nowadays, we'd have one part of the building out of the 100, so no part of the septic would be, but, not
Yeah,
here, so.
Right.
Jim?
Could you elaborate on the erosion control barrier you're proposing? Because the plans had 2 different versions in here. One was on one side of the driveway and one was on the other.
Oh, okay, so I did revise the plan and moved, Matt had asked me to move it, I had it on the inside of the driveway closest to the front yard.
Okay,
He asked me to move it out to the outside edge of the driveway, just so that when they're removing the old tank.
all right. And that goes all the way from the garage up to almost up to Mark Vincent Drive?
Yes,
Good, okay, thank you.
so it goes from the garage to outside the 100-foot,
Okay, thank you. All set.
and then we've got it on the other side as well.
Good?
Yep.
Yeah, this looks fine to me. Any other commission members have any questions? Questions from the audience in regards to this request for determination? Bill?
I'm just curious, is this Butterbrook? Is that the wetland? Well, I don't really need to know, but I think that's probably true.
I didn't hear the question, Bill, I'm
I
sorry.
just was asking, is it Butterbrook? That is the reason for having the wetland there.
I don't know.
Mark Vincent, what's it, Old Lowell?
Okay.
Is it Old Lowell Road?
No need to dwell on that, I was just wondering.
Yeah.
Pretty sure.
You know, I'm not positive, I can't remember, I did see it, something on the map, but I'm not gonna say that that's exactly what I saw.
Looks like it's very close.
Yeah, I'd say this is.
It's close.
Was that your question, Bill?
Yes.
Okay. Good with everything else?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah.
Motion then to issue a conditional negative determination?
So moved.
Second?
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Jim?
Yes.
Yes.
Noel?
Yes.
Ann? Margaret? I'm in. Okay, so we'll issue a conditional negative determination. Any questions for us before we close the public hearing?
Do you want me to send this to the homeowners or to you?
You can send it to me.
Okay.
Motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor? Jim?
Yes.
Noel?
Yes.
Ann? Margaret?
Yes.
Public hearing's closed.
All
Thank you
right.
very much.
Thank you
Good
very
evening.
much.
Great. Okay, we're going to move on to our 7:55 PM agenda item, which is a public hearing for Wasinski at 28 Byrne Ave.
Under Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act, and the Westford's non-zoning wetlands bylaw, Chapter 171, the Westford Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on Wednesday, August 11th, 2021, at 7:55 PM in Meeting Room 201 at Town Hall, 55 Main Street, to the notice of intent application of Richard and Maureen Wilsinski for the demolition of the existing single-family dwelling and and stabilization of the lot within 100 feet of a jurisdictional wetland at 28 Byrne Ave.
Hello.
Rich and Maureen Wilczynski.
This guy did yeah. I did too. So, I'll get to that right after.
Get a plan up.
Yep.
There it is.
So it's our understanding that the existing two-bedroom dwelling is torn down, and that this is simply going to be like, I want to say, for lack of a better word, loamed and seeded, put in place, and then a structure is going to be, planned, developed, and then you're going to be coming back before us at a later date.
Absolutely.
That's correct.
I understand that. It's, in looking at this and trying to, I was talking to Matt about this and saying, well, how are we going to accommodate you in doing this? Typically we'd see a building and, we'd see how close it was, and we wouldn't want you to be any closer to the source area. If it was a deck, we wouldn't want the deck to be any closer, or, if something was on a sonotube, or we wouldn't want it to be closer. So, I was talking to Matt about this, and I'm like, well, if we give him an envelope, that way you're not getting any closer. But in that envelope, I wouldn't want you to be thinking that, okay, I can have my foundation be closer because you gave me an envelope to work with. I don't think the new building, the foundation, can be closer to the resource area than what currently exists today.
This is a cottage that was built in the 40s, and there
Yep.
really is no foundation. So we're dealing off of a footprint that has been approved by the Zoning Board of Appeals. And with that being said, that footprint is what exists up there. Okay, so that what we want to do, the house obviously needs to be knocked down. You see pictures of it, it needs to be knocked down, and as quickly as possible. So I'm not sure what you're saying, but there is no quote existing foundation. There were footings that were there, that are there.
So I've got a footprint for a building that's right there.
That's correct.
We wouldn't want the building to be any larger than that existing footprint.
It will not.
The existing, the proposed building
Right.
footprint. Okay, yeah.
Jim?
This current project that we're writing an order and conditions for, or reviewing for purposes of an order of condition, is just the demolition of the building and the
Correct.
stabilization of the property.
Correct.
That's right.
Correct.
Does that include the stabilization, abandonment, or filling of the septic system that's there now?
The septic system is going to remain at this point in time because it could be, when we put the new building in, that this septic could very well be used. We don't know that until such time that we have a definite plan for the new house.
Okay, none of the existing, at least I couldn't find the existing septic anywhere on any of the plans.
In that particular picture, it is on the Byrne Avenue side.
Good, okay. That's why I was worried that it was.
It's not between the house and the
I didn't know.
resource area.
In the water.
It's not on the lake.
Okay.
It is, where you see the 27-foot dimension, it's actually in the driveway. If you look on the left side of it, the tank itself is in that driveway on the left side.
Okay.
Right over there.
All right,
The leaching field is to the right of that.
okay.
As far as you can get.
So I think if
basically,
we're
from
gonna-
from the wetland right now.
Absolutely,
That is correct.
absolutely.
So it's I'm sorry,
So I
Jim.
think what we're going to do is, we're looking at this from the point of view of demolishing the building, stabilizing the property, leaving the septic system intact the way it is. But we probably have to include in our conditions something acknowledging that that a building had been taken down, and that the so-called proposed slab, porch,
Yep.
proposed building
Yep.
is strictly a rough estimate of an outline of the footprint.
Not to exceed.
Not to exceed.
And there may be other restrictions in the future. For example, we oftentimes put buffer zones right up against the lake, like 5 or 10 feet of a native
Or a
ground.
5-foot like naturalized buffer.
Yes, a ground species to prevent runoff going into the lake, those kind of things.
Currently, just to explain, is that on that left side, that driveway on the left side, paved driveway, goes down to the is it 15, is it 18.4? See the dimension that says existing up there?
15.8.
Yeah, right there.
Yep, yeah,
Yes,
that's
that one
what-
right there. That driveway goes down that, almost that
The
far.
area I'm talking about, oftentimes when we review activity near the lake, we oftentimes will put a buffer zone between the stone wall or the shoreline and the lawn, or the shoreline and a paved area.
There's a retaining wall that goes,
But that is not part of this project. I'm just saying that what.
there's a retaining wall there now.
Okay, there's a retaining wall, but I don't know if there's a buffer zone. This doesn't show anything. It just says landscape stone, and I don't know if that's
Gotcha.
proposed or
That's already there.
Existing, okay. But things like that are details that would be in a future order of conditions if and when you reapply with a proposed
Excellent.
house.
In the interim, we want to remove half of that driveway and put in some stone, because right now, that driveway becomes a source of runoff
Part of this,
straight
is
down.
that part of this request for
Yes.
determination?
Yes.
Okay.
That driveway's gonna come out,
Yes.
okay.
I'm going to leave about 30 feet of it from the road, street to, down about 30 feet, but the pavement down to towards the water.
Okay, we should
Approximately-
document these in the order of conditions, that there'll be 30 feet of paved driveway from
Right.
Byrne Avenue towards the north. There'll be, or the existing septic system and piping will remain in place.
Correct.
Disconnected, but remain in place.
Exactly.
Anything else?
Yes.
How many years are you planning on having before you?
Zoning Board of Appeals has granted us 3 years to start construction.
Okay, so in those 3 years, I'd like to see that area be more naturalized instead of just grass, where it's something that's gonna be taking up a lot of our water source, have it be something that's like a native species.
We usually would make people throw in like a wild seed conservation mix or something like that.
And would that have pollinators in it?
No.
I think that if it's gonna be that long of a time, we should make this area like, beneficial.
So you're talking about from demolition until the beginning of construction is what you're focused on?
Right,
And then we have to remove them at construction time.
right.
Well, whatever
Well,
you
like a
put
wild-
down, yeah,
like a-
whatever you
like a
put
field.
down there to stabilize would probably be coming up anyway.
Correct.
Correct.
Yeah.
Like a
So if you put in a wild
wildfire
seed mix
here.
or something like that, for the time being.
And then
I
can we
think that-
leave it not maintained?
Yeah.
Can we have that be like a meadow, so that it'll be,
Well, I don't know how that affects them and their ability to do what they need to do as far as planning the new home.
And they might you might want to mow it a couple of times a year to keep other things, for example, other types of plants that land in there, you might want to be doing some mowing once or twice a year just to keep other things from
right,
growing
so
up.
could we keep it a couple times a year that it gets mowed?
What?
We plan to keep it, you've probably seen our house.
Yes.
The lawn is nice. Rich takes very good care of the lawn, and he intends to, when we put in this grass, it will just continue to be maintained. He mows it a couple of times a week. I mean, he really does take very good care of the property, and he will continue to mow, 28 Byrne. If it's a
I
lot.
guess what she's saying is, if you have grass, people are usually maintaining that grass, fertilizing it, doing whatever to promote the growth of the grass. Typically, we wouldn't want to see that because we don't want to be adding any more nutrients or anything like that into the lake. So if it was something that really didn't take a lot of maintenance or something, I think that would be preferable, is what you're saying.
Right, yeah.
Like what? I'm not a gardener, so what,
Yeah.
what are you suggesting? I mean, I like lilac bushes. I mean.
No, I think she just like,
It's something like a clover, like a natural clover. You never have to
something that
mow
would
it.
also-
It'll also be, and that's a pollinator as well. They have
But
the
I'm
little
also
flowers.
thinking of grass mixtures which will, like clover and other things that will improve the soil while you're waiting to build.
So-
Right.
Sounds good. I mean, you like clover? I mean, I'm not a gardener.
Yeah.
That's an inexpensive, easy thing for the time between now and whenever you come forward with
And
a
you
project.
basically never have to mow it. It doesn't get
Yeah.
very high.
Yeah.
It'll
Oh,
always
well,
be
there we
green.
go.
All right, so I think for the order of conditions, it should include all of these information that we learned today about, about half the driveway being taken out, that they'll remain 30 or 40 feet, whatever it was you said, attached to Byrne Ave. The septic will remain in place. The purpose of the review is for the demolition and stabilization, not for review of the site or the site plan, although a rough envelope was shown on a plan.
Listed on there, so
Yeah, just
the next, yeah, the next is 810.
So, we're gonna need to continue this anyway, to our next meeting, but we should be able to close it out at our next meeting.
Good.
So what do you think, 8:10
Yeah, I think 810,
on the
August 25th.
August 25th at 8:10 gonna work for you?
Perfectly.
Yeah, we'll be here.
And
See,
we'll,
no,
and I'll hopefully have a DEP file number right now. So,
Bill?
The draft order?
yes.
I'm interested in this natural strip next to the lake, Jim, that you mentioned, and I'm, of course, very strongly supporting of that, of course. But I couldn't tell whether that's something that's going to be happening now or only a few years in the future.
I don't see why that can't happen now.
It
It's not
could,
gonna
you
be
could even,
disturbed.
if it's done now, it can be left in place when the construction goes on for the building later.
Right?
What is the issue?
I was talking, remember I was talking about a 5 or 7 foot section
Oh, the naturalized buffer along the,
along the wall, right along the edge of the lake.
There's a beach area at the end of that driveway.
Doesn't show anything here, it just says.
Well, it's sand, it's up from the 18.8 down through is, and that dotted line is really a wall, the retaining wall goes all the way across from the dotted line to the water and across. That is right now existing, this retaining wall.
And that
To
can,
the left of that is about an 8-foot area that is a sandy beach.
Little beach, yeah.
okay, so the 8-foot patch of beach is on there. I guess we'll have to, we'll indicate that is currently existing.
Correct. It is.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's just the plan
All
and
right, and the remainder of the waterfront, there's a retaining stone wall of some
Yeah,
sort.
yeah,
Okay.
yes.
And at the top of that, we'd like about a 5 to 7 foot wide strip of some kind of native plantings, whether it's a ground cover, like a, low bush blueberry would be okay, or some kind of native plant, something along, just on the edge.
Hostas?
There's
Is hostas
there's a
native?
3-foot
I don't know.
wide stone put in across the, from the retaining wall up to the grass is about a 3-foot wide section that contains decorative stone.
So that's what the landscape stone refers to?
Correct.
Yes.
Yep.
And that goes approximately a 3-foot wide from the right corner all the way to the left until you run into that beach area that I'm talking about.
and what's in that landscape stone area that you say there's stuff? What's there besides the stone?
That's what's there. There's the
A
stone.
stone.
Just stone.
Landscape stone.
Yeah, I'm thinking you're looking for a little something more than that.
Yeah, something that's
But
gonna
then again,
absorb the-
is that part of this or is that part of?
Well, they could put it in right now. They could,
Yeah, but
because
it's not
that
part-
won't
You
get,
could, but then you're,
because that won't get demolished
It's
later.
not gonna affect the
Right.
construction.
It's not
what
gonna
are you
affect,
saying?
it's not gonna affect the construction of the house later.
And it's
The thing is, if it's all stabilized, the whole place with a native seed mix or grasses or whatever, we're not gonna have runoff in there. If they removed half the driveway and the building, you're gonna have a lot more infiltration of rainwater and stuff. So if they don't want to, I guess we could probably do okay without that strip now, but I think that's something we would be adding when they come before us for a house. Right? We've always done that with every other construction
No,
project
we
on the
always
lake.
tell them that we want to see some naturalized
Right,
buffer, and we, if they've gone too far, we try to pull that back a little bit.
Right, so it'll either be like now or later, either one. Doesn't bother me either way, but I think it's gonna be something like that in the final plan.
Understand what he's talking about?
I do. I vote for later.
I'm
No,
okay,
it gives you time to think
I'm okay with
about it.
that.
Yeah, okay, I just,
My yard.
I think he's just, letting you know that the final design is gonna need to incorporate some naturalized buffer
Right,
along.
we may have conditions
Yeah.
outside of just the strict envelope of the house that you have marked on here.
Yeah.
And that's one that we typically have people
Yeah,
do.
At that point, we may want kinds of plants there.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right.
Well, I think it'll be a requirement of the notice of conditions at that time.
Okay.
But other than that, the note, we can issue the note, or we can issue the
The order for demolition.
order of conditions at our next meeting.
Yeah.
Okay.
So with that said, can I have a motion to continue this public hearing until 8:10 PM on August 25th?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Yes.
Aye. So that'd be Jim,
Yep.
Noel,
Yes.
Ann, Margaret, and myself.
10.
So we'll see you on the 25th of August at 8:10.
Great.
Thank you.
If not in person, remotely.
Never know.
One never knows.
You know?
You know, a Zoom works for me.
Yeah. We'll be as accommodating as we can be.
Okay, thank you.
The discussion item.
Stay healthy.
Okay, yeah.
You too.
Sorry that I skipped our 7:50 PM discussion item, so we're going to get right to it. So we're going to move on to our 7:50 PM agenda item, which is a proposed Eagle Scout project for the Stone Arch Trail kiosk. Jack here? Yeah. Hey, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
Good. So let us know who you are and what you want to do.
Alright, my name's Jack Celian. I'm a Life Scout in Troop 195 in Westford. Right now I'm working on my Eagle project and I'm trying to make my Eagle rank. So there's a trail in Westford. Oh, sorry, I should probably wait.
No, yeah, I was lost.
I'm I've already done that. The Stone Arch Bridge Trail is a trail that I used to go on when I was a younger scout, and one of my first outings was on that trail. We hiked through it, and recently there's been a sign that used to display information and stuff that fell over because it had rotted out, and I'm proposing to replace and remove the old sign that is just collapsed on the ground around it. The one on the left is from the trail point of view of where the sign is. That's the collapsed one, and then the one on the right is from the woods behind it. It had a roof, and the roof collapsed over with the whole sign, and the main the base posts were what rotted out. I've talked to Mr. Ebbetson, and it's on his list of things that needs to be replaced. And I'm talking with Mr. Fontaine at the building department to get the permits that I'm needing to replace it. The map right there shows it's on the Millet end of the trail, and it's I don't know how to describe it. It's where the circle is on the far end. That's the next slide. I've talked to Mr. Ebbetson, and he sent me plans of what he wants because they're trying to set up all the signs to be similar between all the trails. So he sent me a baseline plan of a sign that he wants made, which is shown in the other picture. That's on a different trail in Westford. It has a small little roof, but there's not really much on it. It's just to make sure the rain doesn't go over it, and there's a plexiglass covering that'll go there. That's all I really have.
Okay. Jim?
I looked at the property down there. The rail trail itself, or the rail bed part of the trail, is under the care and custody of the selectmen, I believe, and just off of it is conservation. I'm not sure where exactly this is located.
It's between them. It's so there's the Stone Arch Bridge Trail, and then right next to it, at the beginning of the Stone Arch Trail, there's the where they split. It's right there on the.
Yeah, I'm familiar with roughly with the end there past the arch, Stone Arch. Matt, are you bringing up the
Yes, I am.
GIS? Okay.
Because I went out there after when Jack originally contacted the town manager's office. I wanted to go out because there are different jurisdictions
Yeah.
out there, and wanted to make sure if whoever he's speaking to is the most appropriate
Right.
person.
I think it's a great idea, good project. I just don't want to be the one to say it's okay and then have the selectmen go, whoa, wait a minute.
Yeah, it's on our property, yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, after the bridge is the selectmen's, this kind of pinkish, and that's the rail bed. But where and that's, the bridge arch itself, or kind of starts at the bridge arch itself, and this is located a little bit further back. It's kind of right at the, if you continue out this, you end up going over kind of the old bridge.
Up to the railroad.
Yeah, the rail abutment, which I hadn't realized was there, and walked to the edge and kind of got startled. But it's at where kind of the two trails that come up from the train tracks, kind of on the flanking the old rail bed.
I thought that this and this are conservation, and I thought this and this, those two parcels that are on natural rail bed are the selectmen. Isn't that
Yeah,
true?
no, I think this one's actually under the commission. I mean, this one's showing the commission's
It's
custody.
being under our jurisdiction.
Where's it show that?
I mean, so the green is conservation.
Oh, you did by the color?
Yeah, by the land property
Okay,
ownership.
all right, okay.
So that's.
If that's the case, good.
Yeah, that's, like,
I didn't see that distinction. I thought that rail bed went the same all the way through.
yeah, no,
Great.
it,
All right, so the closer it is to the rail bed, the better off we are. Or actually, it doesn't matter, because we're.
right,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's on-
to the-
yeah.
to the
Good.
existing road, but yeah,
Good.
I think
So it'll
we're,
be near one of the trails that lead onto that, that rail bed? Good.
I think it's fine.
Me too. I think good idea. It's great fixing something up like that needs it.
Thank you. Bill?
I just want to add quickly that I'm very familiar with this area, Jack, and this is a really good benefit for the town, so thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions from the commission? I think we're good with the project.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for doing it.
Thank you.
It's going to be great.
Do we need a motion to that effect? Yeah,
Sure.
just,
I move that we support the
okay.
scout project of a kiosk at the Stone Arch Bridge.
Second.
And you have a second. So all those in favor, Jim?
Yes.
Noel?
Yes.
Ann?
Yes.
Margaret?
Yes.
And I'm in favor as well. That makes it official.
yes, thank you.
Great. Okay, we're going to move on to our 8 PM agenda item, which is a public hearing for 9 Groton Road.
Under Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act, and Wetlands Non-Zoning Wetlands Bylaw, Chapter 171, the Westford Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on Wednesday, August 11th, 2021, at 8 p.m. in Meeting Room 201 at Town Hall, 55 Main Street, on the request for determination for applicability application of Edith and Henry Massenby for the evacuation of a foundation to enclose the existing covered porch and construction of a covered porch on existing lawn and landscaping area within 100 feet of a jurisdictional wetland at 7 Groton Road.
Good evening.
Hi,
How are you? State your name for the record.
my name is Henry Masembe. We moved to 9 Groton Road in August last year, in the middle of COVID, so we're both nurses.
Congratulations.
I know, right? We have 3 young kids, so we are planning to work on our house. We are requesting to move the existing porch so we can make our living family room bigger to accommodate the kids, do their homework and everything and hang out, to in front of the dining room. Both areas are disturbed. Where we're moving it, it's a little garden
Already
with-
grassed
yeah,
or, okay.
Yeah, so
Matt, have you had a chance to?
Yep, I was out there today. The nearest corner of the, or the farthest corner, or the nearest corner of the existing covered porch, which will be where the foundation will be excavated for the enclosing for the family
Yep.
room, as Henry mentioned, is 64 feet from the wetland. It's down gradient of down gradient across the driveway, and as shown on, and originally this came before me as a building permit, and I tried to see how the commission's updated rules and regulations could, and where the foundation was being excavated, if it was, going on sonotubes, existing
could've done-
tubes. I really tried to,
Limit the pain. No, I get it.
figure out how to work this project into kind of the commission's, where it is an existing covered porch already, and it just, ultimately, especially with the excavation for the foundation, it just really didn't, I couldn't do it, and so we're.
Well, this is easy enough to do a conditional negative determination. Jim, do you see anything that you have issue with?
Looks good.
Margaret?
The whole garage is downstream of it, too.
I'm just
so.
wondering, if there's excavation, do we need erosion control?
Yes, actually, I did speak on site at the edge of the driveway. I'll make sure to include that as a condition
Well,
and include it on a,
yeah,
a plot plan.
a plan that shows the house, where the erosion control will be, and then where the wetlands, so that there's something in the file that reminds us
Certainly. Yep.
what we're doing.
Yep, and I can certainly add that as a condition as well, to make sure that erosion controls are installed at the edge of the driveway between the project site and the wetland.
Do you have anything else, Jim?
No, it looks good.
Well, yeah. Okay. Seeing none, any questions from the audience in regards to this public hearing? Seeing none, can I have a motion to issue a conditional negative determination for 9 Groton Road?
So moved.
Second?
Any further discussion? All those in favor, Jim?
Yes.
Well,
Yes.
Ann?
Yes.
Margaret, yes. Eric, yes. Great, so we're going to issue a conditional negative determination. That's a good thing. Matt will provide that to you, and I don't see any reason why we can't close the public hearing. So, motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor, Jim?
Yes.
Well,
Yes.
Ann?
Yes.
Margaret?
Yes.
Thank
All
you
set.
very much. Appreciate
Thank you very much.
Good luck.
Enjoy your home, enjoy Westford.
Thank you.
Take care. Okay, we're going to move on to our 8:10 PM agenda item, which is a public hearing continued and to issue an order of conditions for 107 Dunstable Road.
State your name for the record.
So I know when we chatted at our last meeting, I thought we wanted to get a little more information on that stone wall that was going to be built.
Yep.
And I think that was the only outstanding issue we had. Remember anything more than that?
Was there going to be something about native plantings along the top of the wall, rather than just having grass or lawn to the edge of the?
I don't remember that portion of the discussion, but I'm not saying we...
I'd like to see that.
Yeah, I thought, kind of in the corners of the property, as shown on the native planting areas,
Okay.
kind of would work best in terms of kind of increasing some native species and not just have a continuous shoreline of lawn.
Well, I was also thinking is if you've got shrubs and stuff, they're going to have roots that grow deeper, and that will be just something else that helps to hold the soil in place behind the rocks.
Makes some sense. Did we get any type of schematic or cross-section or anything in regards to, putting these 4-foot...
So we had existing photo, and just
Okay.
name for the record.
Sure, I'm Joshua Deegan. I'm the owner of Earthscape Landscaping out of Groton, Mass., and I will be the contractor if this is approved that does the installation, and I can tell you a little bit more about it if you'd like to hear.
Yeah, that's what we want to hear.
So, at any rate, I've done over 30 projects that have been permitted under the Massachusetts Wetlands Bylaw. None in Westford, but many in Groton, including the one that you see the photo of, which is on Lost Lake in Groton, as well as similar jobs in Westminster, Gardner, Royalston, Sudbury, Stowe, all over the place. So this is similar to what we would be doing. However, what is currently existing there is a segmental retaining wall system that was installed of concrete
Yeah, we
blocks.
saw it, those little blocks that are falling in.
That
yeah.
weren't properly footed, and there's no foundation, they're set basically without anything below grade on improper subgrade, so it was just destined to fail. What we're proposing to do is remove a 36-foot section of that wall, go into the water with a couple of laborers by hand, entering the water to take the block, to set them up under the shoreline, and then to remove the others, put them on a pallet, and take them away with a bobcat or a skid track loader, bringing them up to the driveway so the customer can then sell them or do whatever with them. Then we're talking about putting in 4 to 4.5 foot boulders. And what the boulders are is they're native New England granite stones. They're going to be round and ovalish. They'll be put in a contiguous fashion, but one touches another. And because the lake does not have a drawdown, it doesn't enable us to do it during the winter months when the water level is low and we have to work within the existing water level on this lake. With that said, what we propose to do is dig the soil back between 2 to 3 feet from the existing face location of the wall, and then embed the boulders approximately 8 to 12 inches down into the sediment sitting on the bottom of the lake, giving them a back batter leaning towards the slope of the backyard of about 3 to 4%. So they won't be set vertical. They're going to be set leaning back. So by nature, gravity is going to help hold them in place. And then we put a layer of commercial filter fabric directly behind the stones themselves, not Home Depot fabric, but heavy-duty filter fabric. And then we would put crushed stone directly behind the wall, and then we would put the fill, which would be stockpiled, outside of the buffer zone during the course of the work, back in place. Then we had proposed in restoring, the grade, and putting in a very tolerant grass was what I had proposed, which would be like a Kentucky 51 tall fescue with no fertilizer back in place, just to mimic what's there. Within my contract, I had stated to Barbara, the applicant, that we would do whatever the commission said you wanted done, and that I left a line item in there that if there's certain conditions imposed upon you, that she would have to bear the additional cost. Before I allow you to ask any more questions, if you don't mind, one major issue that I have with this is the floating siltation device that you're looking to have in place, along with the straw wattles. First of all, I don't know how I would put erosion fencing and or straw wattles in place, because the work that we do is going to interfere with the location of that fencing and straw wattles in itself. So we're not going to be doing any disturbance to the existing lawn other than within the 3 or 4 foot area that the equipment is operating in. I'm not going to have to move very much to make this work. A bobcat's going to bring the boulders from the street to an excavator, which is going to put them in place. So the erosion outside of the excavation is going to be minimal. In terms of the floating erosion control device, I'll do whatever you say you have to do. I'm just trying to limit the expense to the homeowner. So
what's the depth of the water?
When I came to Barbara's home, it was probably June, I believe, when
Yes,
I
it
first
was.
came there, and it was approximately 18 inches.
Okay, so I hear what you're saying, I hear what he's saying. I'm trying to think of, typically, in construction, you do a coffer dam or something, but that'd be crazy. But I was thinking, what about like siltation fence? The black stuff that they put up? If we stake that out in the water, that's a silt fence.
That's perfect.
That's cheap. You can stake that right in, and that's going all the way down.
We could put that directly down into the sediment and then just gently rake some of the sediment that's there on top
I think that's
of the flap.
That's a good, simple solution.
The fines are still going to penetrate through it, but the courses will not get past that.
Well, a silt vent will take out pretty much, you might get colloidal particles, some clay stuff, but other than that, it's going to hold back most everything else.
Well, what would you say, 5 or 6 feet from the location into the water line of where I'm installing the wall?
I'm not going to tell you your business. I don't know what it's going to take for you to put those stones in and to do it all right. I wouldn't want it so far out. I'd try to keep it, close enough that when you're working, if there's any sloughing or, we're keeping it to a minimum, but that silt fence should be keeping everything in place?
I'd say 6 feet from the location of the installation of the wall.
What do you think about that, Jim? Does that sound like that sounds like a solution to me.
One question I would have, Barbara, have you noticed, with motorboats on the lake, do you often see wave action coming to this area? I mean, that would be the only thing that I could think of, is if you've got boats generating waves going against this barrier on the other side.
Yeah, but he's got 4-foot boulders set up with stone behind it, and I don't...
No, I'm thinking about during construction. If you're talking about putting this silt barrier in the water, does it need to be reinforced so that you're not having waves messing
So
it
I
up?
have steel fencing from installing deer fencing. And what I would do is, if we did what you proposed.
Silt fence in the water, yeah.
We would put the silt fence in the water, and the stakes in itself would hold it up. But you have a really good point. If I ran, say, every 8 feet, these are 8-foot tall steel fencing bars. If I drove them in 2 feet into the ground on the outside of the silt fence, that way, when you have the wave action occurring, it would help to, buffer the fencing.
Stabilize that silt fence, right?
And then we check the fence every day, and if there were issues with wave action and somebody came by and the fence got loose, part of your conditions are I'd be the on-site manager and we would have to control that. This project from start to finish will take 5 days, assuming.
That was my next question. was
Assuming
kind of
that
how long.
we don't have July-type weather with it raining every day.
And we're not talking a huge amount of, boat traffic on Long Sockborough Pond. It's not like Nab. So I think that would work. I can't think of any other.
So in lieu of the floating siltation fence, you could
Yeah,
change, because
I-
that was the main issue that I had is, we can get that, that's something I don't own, and when I went and I priced it out, it'd be like $1,500.
Yeah.
And silt fence is gonna be a tenth of that.
Yeah, and it's gonna be more effective.
I think so.
Yeah. Let's go there. I think how you describe the installation works. The one question I still have, okay, so if this is the water's edge, you're digging your stones, you're installing your stones, isn't there gonna be a little bit of soil in between your stones and the edge?
So what I need to do is let's just say this is the face of the wall where the
Yeah.
stones are going. The current existing segmental retaining blocks are 1 foot wide, those that are still standing in the area. So after I remove those, I need to dig back an additional 2 feet back into the slope. So what'll happen is the water's gonna come closer to the house
Yeah.
by that 2 feet during the course of the
You're
work.
just setting the stone in.
Then I'm taking the stone, and as I put the stones in, I'll put in 3, I'll backfill behind 3 with like 1.5 inch course from Graniteville quarries, is where it'll come from. And that will stabilize the stone, and as I say, it's gonna have a back batter, because if I keep it straight up and down, I'm concerned that the wave action over the course of time.
Yeah, just gonna move it forward.
Yeah, and I mean, these stones weigh between 1,400 and 2,100 pounds of stone. So they're not gonna move if they're properly installed.
No, I like what's being built. I mean, this is built to last.
Yeah, and like I said, the first one I built like this in a lake was probably 20 years ago. It's still standing the same way I left it. That was in Westminster.
I'm good with this, Jim.
Me too. The one question, the picture that has the trees right up against the water, is that the same, is that picture the same as the project that you showed, the completed one?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
it is.
Okay.
And
I
all
was
those
just
trees are
curious.
still alive today.
All right, great.
That was a complicated job right there.
It didn't look like you had
No,
much
but
space.
I like the look, so.
Oh, it
I
looks
think
like
that,
it's, a
Looks good.
stream bed, a riverbed. It's very natural looking.
And there'll be plenty of infiltration right up to
Yeah,
it.
no, so I'm all good with all of it.
So the only question then, I guess the final question I would have for you is if you allow the change from the floating siltation fence to the silt fence that's towed in and secondary secured, on the plantings, what do you want to use and where do you want them? Because right now, as you can see, it's all contiguous lawn directly up against the existing segmental retaining block wall and dock. If you want plantings in there, and I see the stars where you place them, Barbara had forwarded to me the proposed order of conditions. I'll do what you want, but I need some direction. If you give me a blank canvas, God knows what you're gonna get.
Well, there's low-growing blueberry bushes. There's
You know, I just know that you guys are
Mayflower.
looking for some natural buffer where some doesn't currently exist, and we just want it to be low cover, and we tend to give the homeowner the choice of what they would like, but we do like to see some sort of low growth cover.
Yeah. So
There's a
some,
lot of native.
a ground cover, low shrub, just something
Native.
that's native and it's not lawn grass going right to the edge.
So do you want that from one end of to the other of the 36 feet that we're installing, or do you want that to go even further?
I mean, ideally.
And it's not a problem, it's all disturbed.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
so, you know, what about like something like red twig dogwood? You know, the dwarf version of that, or, you
It
know.
doesn't seem to be, I mean, when we're talking low ground cover, we're talking,
you're
Yeah,
talking
we
like-
don't want to interfere
yeah, we
with,
don't want to interfere with anything, we just
Or
want
the
something
view.
other than grass.
yeah, and something that will, you know, if there's water running across the lawn towards the lake, there's
What about
something that-
juniper?
Yeah.
What if you use like a ground cover, like a blue rug or Bar Harbor or Sergeant juniper, which is gonna grow sideways and not get taller than, say, 15
Yeah, I don't want
inches?
it, I don't want anything tall that's gonna ruin anybody's view or anything like that.
That's gonna grab the soil because it's got a fibrous horizontal
Yeah.
root system.
No, that would be fine.
And in that full sun, it'll be vigorous, it'll really grab nicely, and it'll look really nice growing in between the boulders cascading over 'em.
Fine with that.
Yeah, sounds nice.
All right. Thank you.
No, thank you. And, you know, it's good that we can have this discussion so we're all on the same page.
And that's why I came tonight. Barbara's like, well, what's the next step? I said, let me show up.
Yeah, there you go. Any other questions for us?
No, we want to get this project going in the beginning of September
Well,
because
yeah,
we have to.
we're not
work
gonna
in-
hold you up.
Yeah, well, no, I'm just saying, we have to work in the water, and, you know, if I'm gonna be sticking people in the water, it's nice to do it in September as opposed to November.
Sure.
Hazard pay.
So do we have the order of conditions?
Yes, that was included.
Okay.
I will amend it to
Um,
include.
Jim,
I'm good.
any other comments to the orders? Anything else from Nick? Seeing none, can I have a motion to approve the orders as amended for 107 Dunstable Road, DEP file number 334-1767?
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor, Jim?
Yes.
Noel?
Yes.
Ann?
Yes.
Margaret?
yes.
I'm in favor. You ready for me to close this public hearing? You guys ready for me to close this public hearing?
Please.
You are. Motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor, Jim?
Yes.
Noel?
Yes.
Ann?
Yes.
Margaret?
Yes.
We're all set?
Thank you, commissioners.
Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
I'll give you a call at the end of August to give you the proposed start dates and the sequencing.
Thank you. Thanks for the discussion. Appreciate it. Okay, we're going to move on to our 8:15 PM agenda item, which is a public hearing continued, or, yep, for Eagle Scout project at the Abbott Trail Footbridge. Good evening. Could you state your name for the record?
My name is Zoe Mosante, and I am currently a Life Scout working towards my Eagle project in Troop 919 here in Westford.
So tell us a little bit about the project.
Could you speak up, please? I have a hard time hearing you, sir.
So my project is I'm building, or at least planning to build a footbridge over a small stream. Over in Abbott, there's a trail that has, well, a stream running through it, and I believe it would be better if there would be a footbridge over it, so less erosion to the stream if people try to walk through it.
Excellent. Jim, what do you think?
This is on school property.
Yes.
And I noticed in your application, there's somebody that signed it, but I can't tell who. Who have you worked with in the school department as far as?
I worked with the principal of Abbott School.
With who?
The principal of
Oh, the
Abbott
principal?
School.
Okay.
And Mr. Fox, I believe.
Paul Fox, he's the facilities director.
Perfect. Good. Great. And the other question I had is, I noticed you made some minor modifications to some of the sizes of the lumber based on the length of the bridge.
Yes, I did.
I didn't check them all to make sure they all fit, but that's, you've double checked it and all, and everything's, okay, good. That'll fit across the bridge you have planned. Great. I'm good.
Yeah, how's your fundraising efforts going to date?
I have not, I didn't do any fundraising yet. I just started a GoFundMe page, which,
Well, let us know how you make out, and, you know, if you need some assistance, you know, demonstrate that you've reached out to others, but you can also reach out to us as well.
I know other Eagle Scout candidates have reached out to the Rotary clubs, Lions. They're valuable. I know they've been helpful in the past in securing some funds.
But I have no issues or problems with this project. It seems great.
Yep.
Do you have any questions for us?
Is there some kind of a type of wood that I need to use? I know I should probably use pressure treated lumber, but is there any like specific stain you want me to use, because it's gonna be over running stream, sometimes running stream?
No, I'm probably better off not to paint it at all.
Yeah, that was.
Just leave it, just pressure treated and unpainted pressure treated.
Yeah.
Unpainted pressure treated.
That works. Any other questions from the commission before I turn it over to Bill? Bill?
I just want to be very supportive of this project. I'm well aware of the way it's come along so far, and I'm an active member of the Healthy Westford Committee, which is particularly interested in making it possible to walk to schools. And this current trail is good for that. However, it is muddy, as you were saying. And so I'm just, in summary, I think this is a really good project.
Emily?
Emily Teller, 9 Texas Road. My husband was Scoutmaster of Troop 159 for 9 years, and I'm the parent of a 3rd-generation Eagle Scout. And I just want to say how thrilled I am that you are building this bridge and taking on this project. It's really exciting. I guess my concern also would be, does pressure treated have arsenic, and does that leach into the area? I don't know.
Do they still use
I don't
arsenic
think
and
they use
pressure treated?
arsenic.
I have no
I think
idea.
they use different types of chemicals now.
It
Not saying they're any better.
The
but-
permanent ground contact stuff doesn't last as long as permanent ground contact used to.
Okay.
The old days
well,
when it was really nasty, it would
I'm
last
glad you
for
guys are here.
20 years.
Are you Casey Teller's mom?
Yes, I am.
Paul Berard's sister.
Who?
Paul Berard. is
Oh,
my brother.
gosh.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm Casey's mom.
an Eagle Scout.
Casey is not a Colby blessing.
Any other comments from the audience? Seeing none, can I have a motion to support this Eagle Scout project?
We are supported. So we'll want to continue the public hearing for, so we can
Okay,
draft
yeah,
an order of
so we can
conditions.
draft the orders. So what do you think, our August 25th meeting?
Yeah, I have an order.
You have a time?
8:15.
Okay. Seeing no other questions, can I have a motion to continue the public hearing until August 25th at 8:15 PM?
So moved.
Second.
All's in favor? Jim?
Yes.
Noel?
Yes.
Ann?
Yes.
Margaret?
Yes.
We'll see you on the 25th
Thank you.
with an order of conditions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great. Okay, with that, we're going to move on to our second discussion item of the evening, which is a discussion with the trust in regards to a long trail between Callista Drive and Tavern Circle.
Eric, do we want to just, before we forget about it, continue our 8:20?
We did.
Yeah.
Well, we didn't actually specify.
We didn't give it a time?
No, we just kind of let people
Okay.
know that we're continuing it.
So we're going to move on to our 8:20 PM agenda item, which is a public hearing continued for the town of Westford. The applicant has requested a continuance without discussion to the September, well,
22nd.
he says, it'd be the September 22nd, 2021 meeting. So do we have a time we want to put him on?
7:55.
Okay. Can I have a motion then to continue this public hearing until September 22nd at 7:55 PM?
So moved?
Second.
All those in favor, Jim?
Yes.
Noel?
Yes.
Ann?
Yes.
Margaret?
Yes.
Okay. Public hearing's been continued to September 22nd at 7:55. Okay, now we're going to move on to our discussion item. So, Bill, I'm going to let you,
Thank you.
because I think that this is something that you wanted us to have on for this meeting, so.
So true. Yes. The reason I wanted to bring something to your attention. In October of last year, I was on this trail easement, and a woman who lives near the trail easement came out very angry, very upset, and rude, too. And she said, "I'm going to call the police."
Bill, I'll tell you what, let's not go anywhere with that. How about if we, because I don't want to get into any of that. I mean, we had a site visit yesterday. I was there. Jim was there.
Oh, nope. Margaret and
No.
Noel.
Sorry, yep, not
I was there with
Margaret.
you.
I meant Noel and Margaret. The three of us were there. Matt was there. Sean, the homeowner, was there.
Dave Everton.
Ron Gemma was there.
Dave Everton was there.
And Dave
Yeah,
was-
and Dave. And, we looked at where what we thought was the property boundary, the common land, where the trail was supposed to go, and then there's the CR that is for Chestnut Hill Estates. And then we looked at where that trail was supposed to go, and there was discussion about where was the property boundary line, and then the common land, and then the start of the Chestnut Hill Estates CR.
Yes.
And with that, we had thought at one time we might need to shoot a line or do some additional surveying to get a better feel. Seems like we may have, the homeowner, I believe, has had that line shot on his property line, so he knows the property boundary between his property and the common land. Seems like we will have availability to have that line demarcated in the future. We weren't having it done right there at our site visit. The homeowner asked for some additional time before, we demarcated that line before he was ready to do that. I think the commission members who were on the site at that time had no issue giving the homeowner that additional amount of time. We do want to resolve this issue. It may very well be that when we do demarcate that line and ultimately put that trail in place and better mark it, it seems like it's right in his driveway. You know what? It's very close. It's right there.
I don't agree with that.
What was that?
I don't agree with the way you described that.
Well, I had two other members here as well. We were looking, and Matt as well. I mean, we could pretty much tell where his lot line was and where the common land started.
I'd like to comment on this at some point.
And all I can say to that is, we will resolve that and we will do what we can to get that trail demarcated and in a location where all parties, we'll do what we can to best accommodate everybody. But that's not going to happen, wasn't going to happen yesterday. It may not happen for a month or two. I know that the homeowner was seeking to see if he could have others sort of memorialize and keep the trail where it exists today, where people have made the trail for lack of a better word.
I'd like to comment if there's an opportunity.
Sure, but I'm not going to have you sit here and make comments about somebody was being rude to me or this or that. We're trying to resolve an issue. So if you have any other comments other than resolving this issue, I don't want to hear them. They're not germane to this getting this taken care of.
All right, I'll skip that. Now, as you said, Eric, the homeowner says that he has engaged a surveyor, and 60 days from now, he will be willing to release some information to the town. I learned, though, correct me if I'm wrong, that there's no markings currently on the land showing where this property line is.
That's correct.
Now, I think that's very important because what could he offer the town 60 days from now? I would say he can't offer anything of value to the town. Maybe he's thinking of offering a map, but actually the map we already have, the map that comes, it's part of the CR, the conservation restriction. So if he offered us a map, that would be useless. The other
He's
thing,
not offering us a map, he's offering us a line that we could start from. I mean, if you're trying to figure out where the common land is, there are two ways to do that. One would be from his property line, which demarcates his property from the common land, or you could shoot a line from the opposite end, from the line which would be the line between the CR of the Chestnut Hill Estates and the common land, and work back that way. We don't have either line. He says he has one of those lines, and hopefully, in a couple of months' time could provide us that line. If he can't provide us that line, then we'll make our best guess on where it is at that time. I didn't see any reason why we couldn't accommodate him and provide him a little more time to try to see if he could bring some of his neighbors. I mean, there's an existing line. He showed us three different things here. We had the red line where it should currently be, the yellow line where he'd like to see it, and the green line of what exists today. So I have a plan that shows three different lines. We'd like to get one of these blue lines, this blue line, he says he can provide to us at some point. From that blue line, which is his property line, we can figure out what that common area is and make sure that get that trail demarcated correctly. What's wrong with that?
okay, I'd like to give you my opinion on that.
Sure.
I myself have a background in this all the way back to when it was in the planning board. I was on the planning board at that time. I myself have a good, I know where the property line is, but I'm not offering to tell when it's marked, it should be marked by a surveyor, a professional surveyor.
Well, if I have the line shot.
I didn't quite finish.
Go ahead, Bill.
Well, the fact that there's no property, there's no marking right now means that the only thing he could offer would be for him to mark it. And I feel pretty sure that the town would not accept an abutter, just because of conflict of interest, an abutter putting in marks and claiming that that's where the property line is. So maybe I'll just make my point.
He says he has had it officially surveyed. So this gentleman is not putting stakes in the ground and telling you where it's at. He's telling us he has had it officially surveyed. And so I'm not trusting the homeowner to put stakes in the ground. I'm trusting a registered surveyor to do something.
Then you and I are in agreement on that. If I feel the town should do it because it's a very easy thing to do.
We don't believe that. I don't believe the town should go and spend $1,000 for information that already exists that we're going to get access to hopefully in a couple of months' time.
Okay,
Bill, if we don't get the
me.
information, then we can move forward and do something else. I don't see any reason to pursue this in any rash course. Not only do we need this line shot, but we might need to have other surveying done too. So let's wait a little bit, let's figure out what we need, and let's move forward. But quite frankly, having you being part of this isn't getting us to where we need to be. It's causing the homeowner more frustration, and quite frankly, is making our job more difficult. I'd actually prefer you not to have involvement in this. And we asked you that before. So I would respectfully request that you no longer involve yourself in this and let us deal with this and resolve this on behalf of the town.
I would like to reply to that if I could.
You may.
You did in October, after that event, I began to describe, the commission asked me if I would refrain from going there until the property line is marked. And I voluntarily agreed to do that. The policeman asked me that too, and again, I volunteered to do it. But I wasn't planning to do it in perpetuity. And so I'm bothered by the fact that the property line isn't marked yet. Now, I only want to leave you with my recommendation, which is for the town to bring in a surveyor and mark the line. Then we will know that's accurate. Now, if the homeowner can do something like that, I don't mean marking with his own hammer and nails or anything, but if he can bring a real professional surveyor, I obviously would have no objection to that, and I don't mind.
I wouldn't be looking for anything else but something that was from a surveyor, somebody who had the ability to do it and something that I could trust, and because this has to be correct. I can't have this be willy-nilly. I mean, it has to be, it really needs to be in that common area.
Well, you're pointing to something that the neighbor built.
Well, I'm sorry, what I'm doing is saying, we want that trail to be within that common area.
Let me clarify. I'm not talking about the trail at all. I think that's a distraction. I'm talking about the conservation land and the property line. That's my, I'm glad I was able to bring that out. That's my recommendation to the Conservation Commission. Get the property line of the conservation land marked accurately. And I don't need to go on and on about this. That's all there is to my comment.
Go ahead, Jim.
Is this the? They don't, okay.
That he has a survey.
I'd be perfectly happy likewise as both you gentlemen, if we get a stamped surveyor's plan, and hopefully they'll have put some kind of markings, whether it's drill holes, steel posts, or something at the critical points.
Yeah, because I think one of the things.
Because we have diagrams now, but you can't match them to anything in the field.
Right, and
But if
the
a-
whole
but if a
thing was if
registered-
we had that line in,
Right,
then I could
if
measure.
a registered surveyor, a licensed surveyor does the survey and puts in
And the
marks.
homeowner said that they had that done.
Okay, all right.
Yes, and he said 60 days, so we have a definitive time.
Did he just have this done recently or something, and he's waiting for the plan to get
Well,
back to him? or-
There's other things going on.
Yeah, it's more complicated than that, and he just doesn't have the opportunity to release it at the moment. But that's all I'm gonna.
Right.
Yeah. One of the things
Sounds a
that-
little hokey, but.
It's not hokey, it's more legal than anything else.
All right, I don't know.
But in addition to getting the trail correctly located in that open space parcel, I think we would I think we would also want to see that open space parcel be allowed to renaturalize.
Yes.
Yes.
That'll happen naturally. They won't be allowed to manipulate.
Yeah, but
the
I'm just
conservation.
saying is we making that statement will, when we make that statement, it will be clear.
Good point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
And we do appreciate the fact that we can't really do anything until we have a line to work off of.
Amen.
And that was it. But, the gentleman said, the homeowner said, yeah, I have a line, and I can't see the town spending $1,000 to shoot a line if, that line can be provided to us and it's done by a registered surveyor.
If it turns out that way, then I'll be 100% with you, Eric, on that.
Yeah.
Great.
Okay, all right.
Thank you, Bill.
for taking time on this.
And Bill, thank you for your time and effort, but, this is delicate and, we're just trying to get this moving forward and, for one reason or another, it'd probably be better if you put your efforts somewhere else for the moment.
Keep a low profile.
You probably you're listening for me to agree with you on that point, but I'm not agreeing with you on that.
No, that's fine.
Okay, all right.
But I think it would be helpful for the other commission members if we talked about the second leg of the trail, which was where we got a lot of new information yesterday. Where the trail goes around and it's on the trail easement for Chestnut Hill Estate, where the trail has actually deviated off the trail easement onto abutters properties. So there's places where impromptu people are using a trail that's not in the right place.
It's
And
on
so-
someone's private property.
Yeah, where they've been following where the deer and the coyotes go.
Yeah.
Right.
So it needs to be onto the trail easement, and I think, Matt, you also, there was a piece as well for engaging with the people from the Chestnut Hill Estates
Yes, I mean, because, as things currently stand, where the coyotes and the deer and now the people have been following, Chestnut Hill Estates, as if the commission can remember, kind of back to this spring in March and April, there is a 20-foot wide trail easement was provided at the time of the creation of the subdivision throughout the entirety of the, mass that is Chestnut Hill Estates. And so there's currently a trail that's, now off of, that has been created that is outside of the trail easement. So I'm going to be trying to contact the Chestnut Hill Estates Trust to see if there is a path forward in terms of kind of memorializing and where the existing trails are, but also again kind of reminding them there is this 20-foot wide trail easement through the back, along this back property line with, as shown on the screen here, behind 1097. Let's start high. 1097. There's a 20-foot wide trail easement that was and the trail has since deviated off of it. So the trail is now impacting private property owners. So either we need to memorialize that with those property owners through legal means, so that when those property owners sell, it somebody doesn't change their mind, the new property owner doesn't decide, well, I don't want people walking, along my back property line on this trail. We need to make sure that it gets located in the right location, and it's not, there isn't any
future issues to contend with as far as,
It's also a liability issue for them to have people walking on their property like that.
Could be. But in any event, we're giving the gentleman a little more time. There was really nothing more that we could do yesterday. I think we understood the situation a lot better. And I think we will be able to move forward on this. Just wasn't something we could do at the moment. But I don't think any of us saw a reason why we shouldn't give the homeowners the time that they were requesting to do the things that they needed to do, before we took the next steps.
So we probably put in a tickler file or something 60 days from now, whatever.
Yeah, I have one in my calendar,
Great.
in my Outlook calendar,
The meeting closest to that time frame, we can
follow up with it, ahead of, whatever, 2 months out, 8, 10. Hey, that's around my birthday. That's around my birthday.
But other than that, we went, we saw, I think we better understand.
Last year, I guess it was last summer, there was the whole issue with the swimming pool that might have been on common land or not. Is that not a non-issue?
That's all gone.
There's
No pool, no nothing.
Okay.
Yeah, so that'll look fine.
All right, good.
So yeah,
We're just waiting for
we'll
that
wait a little
surveyor.
bit and then,
Okay.
see where we're at 60 days from now. But I just couldn't see spending money.
So there's actually 2 property lines of concern that the people from the site visit. There's the one behind.
So it's the line here,
This
it's
one here.
this,
And you guys also mentioned.
yeah, so there's a 20-foot wide trail easement that goes
the back of
through.
these properties.
Right.
Yeah.
They have grass.
So Jim, here's a
That
plan,
easement.
and you'll see
Well,
3 lines on that. A red line where the trail's supposed to be,
Yeah.
the green actually where the trails exist,
And the yellow is where he
and
wants it.
then the gentleman's preferred trailway in yellow.
So they've extended their lawns into this, and now they want the trail to go back this way. But really, it's
Right, okay,
But-
so this line is of concern and this line over here. Okay, all right.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
one of the things that
So
came up,
So this gentleman's only gonna give us this line here, it's the only one he cares about, right?
Well,
right.
yeah,
and
but
from
what
there,
we-
we can figure out where this line is.
yeah, but
So we can figure out.
No, one
where
of the
trail
things
should
that we-
go.
But none of this.
Jim,
That's separate. Yeah.
with the line along the edge of the house on Callista Terrace, we want to know where the other boundary is of that strip, because there's a
Trail
stone
in-
wall through the middle.
Right.
And so some of it is there room for the trail on the other side of the stone wall, or does it, which side of the stone wall would the trail makes sense to be on. And we need to know whether the far side of that piece of open space is far enough off the far side of the stone wall that there's a room for the trail to be there.
In the
And
current
it's a
plan that we
double.
have now, the only marker in that vicinity is a drill hole at that intersection right there. And I know you can't see it from the road. That's all I've done is gone down the road. It's just so overgrown.
But part of it was, it's a fairly, there's a stone wall.
It's a big pile of rocks.
Yeah,
Well,
big,
it's very
yeah,
wide.
wide.
Double wide.
But also, it looks like the builder actually, when he found large boulders, he actually put the boulders on top of the pile as well. So it's kind of unclear, is there room to put the trail, at some point have the trail cross the stone wall, which makes it easy to get to the, where the Chestnut Hill Estates tie-in is, or does the trail have to stay on his side of the stone wall? Based on where the two boundaries are.
Right.
Yeah, and when we know where the boundaries are, we'll know.
Figure it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in a couple of months, we're gonna get one of those lines.
And then we'll go work off that, yeah, we'll work
And we'll-
off, we'll get hopefully the line from 5 Callista.
Right.
And then we'll be able to figure out the other side of that open space.
But I couldn't see spending $1,000 to shoot a line.
Especially if there's something we have to
If
come back
someone
and
already
see
has the
for
data
later.
and they're gonna share it, that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the hope, so I'm,
If it's not a licensed surveyors with a stamp on it, then we will be spending $1,000 to do that. I would want to, if we don't have something like that. I mean, that sketch is nice, but it's somebody's sketch.
Sketchy.
oh, yeah, I'm,
Well, but if it's off of GIS, GIS is not,
GIS stands
has
for.
limited,
GIS stands for Get It Surveyed.
right, it has limited accuracy.
Never heard that.
There's one thing.
Go ahead, Bill.
May I bring out one point? It didn't come out yet, that David Evetson, speaking for the Westford Conservation Trust, offered to pay for a surveyor. And so I think that's worth considering, because that could be done right away. We wouldn't have to wait 60 days.
no, we heard that offer, and quite frankly, I'd rather wait the 60 days and get the line instead of having to pay for it, and then if somebody wants to donate something, they can donate $1,000 for the improvements and extra plantings and stuff that we might need. I just hate to see wasting money, and there's no rush here. I mean, there's no rush. There's just better ways to spend money. Anything else the commissioner wants to add? Do we have anything else we need? Yeah, we have our minutes we need
Minutes,
to.
and then I also remembered something I'd just like to
Okay.
get the commission's input from.
So I don't think we need to discuss that anymore. So let's move on to our minutes for July 14th, 2021. Any changes or comments to
Accept
those
the
minutes?
as written.
I did have one small, it talks about for the 58 Kenny Road, it talks about the old construction. And that may have been what somebody said, but it's really the old structure that was in the right of way. So it just,
Okay.
yeah, it
Yep.
just,
Good catch.
So instead of old structure, construction, just put structure.
yeah, the old structure.
Any other changes? Seeing none, can I have a motion to approve the meeting minutes for July 14th, 2021 as amended?
Second.
All's in favor, Jim?
Yes?
Well,
Yes.
Ann? Margaret?
Yes.
In favor. Great. Matt, you said you had something?
Yes, I just wanted to get the commission's feelings. We have been fielding, well, the Recreation Department has been fielding inquiries regarding utilizing East Boston camps as a wedding venue in 2022. I wanted to get the commission's feelings on it. I kind of put my thoughts together and gladly kind of share them if that's...
Didn't we used to allow that to occur, so?
Right, and with COVID, I know the commission
I know.
kind of put the,
Kibosh on
and
it,
so, yeah, and so in terms of, I mean, the state has been providing guidance in terms of, or at least previous, over the winter, they were providing guidance on, specific activities, specific,
Protocols?
yeah, protocols for venue types, I guess is probably the last. So my one I think it would be fine to go back to, soliciting, or not soliciting, but, taking these requests and just letting the parties know that, they will have to abide by whatever state protocol is in effect at that time.
Could be local also, local.
Right, local,
You might
local
wanna-
and, kind of state guidance on, if it's 50 people outside, it's 50 people like, sure, you could, we're saying now, sure, you can have 150 people, but, if the local guidance says you can only have 50, that's what it is.
You're
And-
subject to
wanna
whatever it is
also-
at the time.
You might want to also let them know that we did not allow one wedding party to have alcohol
Right.
at there,
That's
so that might end up being a possibility.
during the, due to, or
That was,
Did you know alcohol makes everything better?
no, and that was our decision, that wasn't based on any local guide, any.
Yeah, I mean, kind of this was the commission's
That was
kind
our-
of
that was-
like
that was
preference
our
to
thought,
not to not issue, to not allow alcohol, and then after that one, it kind of turned into, let's not be having, if we can, let's not be taking wedding, requests, but, where we are in another 14 months is, I mean, it's.
Hey, we can be optimistic and do it, and if it doesn't work, then we can cancel it,
I like
we
that
can
idea.
cancel at that
Yep,
time.
okay,
But I don't see why we shouldn't be optimistic and hoping for the best.
okay. No.
Aw, Eric.
You want a motion for adjournment?
Sure.
Actually, did we record the site visit?
We just did.
Okay.
Yep.
So that was sufficient.
So, motion to adjourn, Jim,
So moved, yes.
Ann,
Yes.
Margaret.
Yeah. Actually, do we need to sign stuff?
Yes, we
Yeah.
do.
All right, we can sign things.
And you have a.